Hey everyone, and welcome to the Rewired Eating podcast. I am, of course, your host, Ian Bickle, and I am super privileged to be joined today with a lady that I've been working with, Deborah Mitchell, and she is going to share her journey. So let's just get straight into it. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Rewired Eating podcast. I say this every time, my favorite podcasts with the people that I have had the great pleasure, the privilege of helping with what has been with this lady a hell of a journey, and I'm hugely excited to share it. So please welcome to the podcast, Deborah Mitchell. Deborah, welcome.
Thanks, Ian.
Deborah, we're going to get straight into it because, like, as I just said, it's been an amazing journey. And like any great journey, they start at the beginning. They all have a beginning. Um, and we're going to go to that. When we started working together about 6 months ago, where were you at? Who was that version of Deborah?
It's the version that doesn't exist any longer, thankfully. But that Deborah was a whole different person altogether. She felt broken. She felt lost. She was like a child still, and she was in turmoil mentally. She was, like I said, lost with her eating, stuck in her eating. She wouldn't eat hardly all day. It was almost as if she didn't count anymore.
I think this is like amazing because like we're going to go through this process. What got you to that point where you felt you didn't count?
So I came out of a very abusive relationship a long time ago, and it took a long time to rebuild from that. But I think it never went away, the results of the abusive relationship, to the point where I didn't think anything of myself anymore after that. And so I wanted to rebuild my life, but I was a little bit stuck on how to rebuild my life. And it got to the point I would just like be so busy trying to avoid any thoughts that I would just neglect myself.
And when we first spoke, when we first kind of um discovered one another within this world, like how did you find out about me? What was going on there?
So I joined a group which I think you've got friends with on Facebook, and you popped up on my Facebook page, and I was a bit intrigued because at that time I was aware that my eating was horrendous. I would go all day without eating. I'd had a recent intolerance test, and so I was barely eating anything at all, and I just got totally lost in it all. So
Mhm.
when you popped up, I thought, I wonder if you'd be able to help us. So it was more being inquisitive than anything.
You spoke about like your horrendous eating pattern. So I want to maybe like before we move forward is just rewind a little bit. Is like how long have you noticed that your eating's not being quite right? Give us a little bit of a brief history about your kind of relationship with food and eating.
I think I've always had the problem for a long time. I do have a history of a number of traumatic events in my life from childhood. And I think so. I've always been very, very self conscious as from teenage years, I would say. So I've always been on diets, fad diets. So I've been on every diet, like Weight Watchers, Slim and World. I've been on the keto diet, fasting diet. And yeah, it's great for a while and it makes you feel good for a while. But then once you stop, you go back to square one again.
And when you were back to square one, how did that ultimately like feed into this problem? How did it make you feel?
Failure, failure. So that brought on more negative feelings about myself. And then obviously it just spirals from there, doesn't it? It just becomes one vicious circle. Let's diet, and then the diet finishes, and then you feel like a failure again. And it reflected in my feelings about myself a lot as a failure. Very, very hard on myself. I had this perfectionism where I felt like I had to do everything perfectly. And if it wasn't done perfectly, I would beat myself up about it.
Yeah, and totally like absolutely massively common with a lot of people that I help is like this very dichotomous black and white thinking is you're all or nothing. And
Mm-hmm.
that you eventually run out of steam when either the diet finishes or you get sick of the diet. So well, you said like teens. So, a lot of people who are listening may not know like how long that has been or how long if we had to put in numbers. I'm trying not to give away your age here. I don't like
Decades. Should I
I'm a
just say
gentleman.
decades?
You can say decades.
I'll say
Decades.
decades. That's safer. And I think from my teens, I struggled a lot. Um, I was a huge people pleaser, and that went through all of my life. Huge people pleaser, and then I felt like I was always letting people down if they weren't happy. And I took that right through till very recently because I felt like a child still.
I know this has been like such an emotional
You're going to set us off as well.
journey, and like we said before the podcast, like it might get emotional
It is.
because and these podcasts I always say they're not necessarily for you, the people that are listening, they're not necessarily for me, it's for Deborah
Yeah.
because it gets to show like the amount of progress that she's made. And I'm so like appreciative of you being on this podcast and sharing this journey, this hugely delicate thing, because I know so many people are out there who are lost and consumed with this, and it's become almost like this identity. And we've
Yeah.
had to build Deborah up and bring out the strong and capable and lady
Immense.
that
Yeah.
immense lady that
I
we
remember when you asked us that, what would you like to be? And that was the first word that came into my head. I want to be immense. Because to me, this is immense.
an immense Deborah is what we've stuck with. Now,
Wow. It's a standing joke now, really, isn't
it's not a joke. It's who you are,
it?
Deborah. It's who you are. Now, I think I remember we'd had some back and forward, and I'd sent you the diet scorecard, which I will link in the description for those that are interested, and I reference it quite a lot during um podcasts and things like that. So you completed that.
I did.
Um, so tell me what your thoughts were when, if you can remember that far back to what your thoughts were when you filled that in and you were like, oh, maybe were you thinking, oh, this is a little bit different to
Yeah,
questions
I
I've had
thought you
previous
were going
about my
to
diet?
fix. Yeah, I thought you were going to fix this. I thought you were going to give us a this. So on my diet and is like this. So you're going to give me something to replace that, and you're going to fix it. Whereas that's what I thought. You're going to give me this diet exercise regime that I'm going to follow, and that's going to be it. I'm going to be fixed. That's what I really thought.
I
Because
love
I
it.
remember talking to you initially because I thought I was broken as well, and I didn't think I was fixable. And then you really, which has stood out to me to this day, said, "You're not broken, you just need rewiring." And you got me thinking from there. But then it still didn't click that that's what you were going to help me with me thought processes and everything else, which was the root of the problem.
I want to talk a little bit about obviously our initial interactions and what happened because we laugh about this now a little
I
bit, but
do.
it does really speak about the kind of the headspace that you were in at the time and what that originally represented to you. And you reference it a few times that like childlike Deborah.
Hmm.
Um, whereas like when we first spoke, so you filled in the scorecard and you took up the free like 15, 30 minute call. And yeah, you go ahead, you tell people.
Yeah, I just like thought, where's he going with this? Where's he going with this? I think you identified the problem straight away. I'm not broken, I just need rewiring. But then I didn't know where it was going from there. And then I felt rejected by you initially because then you said, go away, right, go away and look at my podcasts, do this, that, and I'll speak to you in a week. Something I'm like, and then I think you did mention at times that I've got to be right for you and you've got to be right for me. And I kept thinking to myself, I wonder if he thinks I'm not right to work with. So I was a little bit anxious as well. So I was thinking, how am I? Help us. But then, yeah, and then I was very confused about how you could help us as well by
Mhm.
what you were talking about. So I was keep thinking like, so where's the diet? Where's the food? When's this going to come into it? Where's the diet sheet? Come on, all the things I should be eating, all the things I shouldn't be eating, and it never happened. Never happened. But I got a lot more than what I need. A lot more than that. A lot more.
Yeah, I think when we first started speaking, we had our, and this is what I always do, and this is what I call just, it could be called a chemistry call or something like this. It's like, do I think there's something there? Can I help this person? Um, and also like I fully appreciated that I'm just some to you weirdo off the internet. And I think I said this to you. I was just like, you don't know us, right? You don't know us from
Mhm.
Adam. And it would be wrong for me to kind of bring you into something that you're not quite sure you understand. So I remember saying
Mhm.
like, because you were like, Ian, I want to work with you. And I was kind of like, well,
I
I don't
know.
know if I want to work with you.
I know. I felt totally rejected.
Yeah. But I know how the importance of this process, and if done right, it results in
Mhm.
where you are now. If it's
Mhm.
done wrong, if you're brought into my world in a what I would consider unethical way, um, so I recommended we had basically a week between that call and then the next call, dependent on what your thoughts and feelings were regarding like a couple of the podcasts that I've recorded with previous clients. So I like to hope the next person I'm going to work with is going to have listened to Deborah's podcast, as well as Jane's, as well as Sarah's, and all of the other numerous kind
Mhm.
of people that I've worked with. So they can
Yeah.
get a true feel for what this is and what it means to the individual,
Mhm.
because I'm hugely respectful of you, Deborah, and every person out there as a human. And it
Mhm.
for me, it was just the right thing to do for you to go away, for you to process and articulate and understand what this is truly all about. And then that initial call, that next call, where you did decide, actually, yes. And I decide yes. I said to you, like, you know what? I'm quite confident that I know I can help you.
And I think you were more confident than what I was in it.
And why do you think that was?
I think it was because I was in such a bad place and struggled for so long. I think that's what did actually start to believe that I was unfixable. But like you said, I didn't really need fixing. I wasn't broken. There was nothing to fix. The only thing that needed fixing was my thoughts and how I felt about myself.
And I think that's what, you said you came into this arrangement, this relationship, thinking, right, Ian's going to give us the diet plan, the exercise program. I'm going to stick with that and be good. So when
Yes,
did it start like occurring to you that this is different? Like of it maybe from the off it did, I don't know, you tell me.
right from the very beginning. After the first time we spoke, you had me in absolute tears. Absolute tears. I remember it. And I think if you can remember a lot of the very initial top chats together, there was a lot of tears. And that's when I think I realized that this is different. This is different.
Yeah. And I don't know, I didn't know you. I don't know anybody that I work with, but in some ways they've spent so long being busy and not paying attention to maybe all of these underlying traumas to what degree they occurred,
Hmm.
how that is now manifested in how they're showing up today,
Hmm.
um, and rewired eating, formerly known as Build with Bickle, because I used to say like I mean Bickle, of course, and I help build people up.
Yeah.
But like obviously you've mentioned it there, and I even mentioned it like rewiring and stuff like this, and
Hmm.
how it feeds into the symptom of using food as some sort of like coping mechanism and trying to
Yeah.
seek validation in looking a certain way, to be
Uh-huh.
taken seriously, to be wanted by other people, whether it's peers, whether it's other men, um, rejection, you feeling rejected, even though you weren't rejected
I
by
know.
me, really kind of like put into perspective. And I think that was probably such a, like, unknowingly to me, such a huge coaching, like, exercise that we actually went through, like, because really that process of you becoming the now immense Deb began when I first rejected, in inverted
I
commas,
know. I love it.
inverted
I just
commas,
love it.
rejected you. I
I
didn't
was
reject you.
rejected by Ian Bickle. No, I think looking back though, it was the right thing. It was the right thing because I needed to find out more. So it made us go onto your podcasts and listen to your podcasts, find out a little bit more about it. And then I think it was more of an informed decision to go ahead with it as well after that.
Mhm.
So you could have just said, yes, I'm going to work with you. But then I think giving me that little bit of time was the right thing to do anyway.
Yeah. Um, I just want to like when, and I believe in like, I believe that you and I were meant to meet at that
Totally believe
time.
that now. Totally believe it.
It isn't just a coincidence that in some sort of way, like you saw something that jumped out at you. Um,
I
where
was
were
in
you?
such a bad place when you popped up. So I totally believe that. Totally believe that was meant to be at that time because I don't know where I would be now. Certainly not where I am now.
Yeah, and we will be getting onto that because, I think a lot of the people who I typically end up working with are unfortunately through through whatever means where you were,
Hmm.
um, which is lost and stuck in this rut and just not
Hmm.
knowing where to turn, having in your eyes tried everything.
Hmm.
Um,
And I think that eventually as well, I came to the conclusion that the food are the symptoms, not the cause. The cause is something a lot deeper, which needs working on, and the problem with the food is just the symptoms of this bigger problem.
yeah. And what would you like really like if you had to kind of tell us what the causes were for you?
The emotional, mental scars, mostly, I would say.
Hmm.
And it was from childhood, the scars from childhood, but I hadn't realised how much impact it had on my life. And yes, I'd had like bits of counselling in the past, things like that, but they've never ever got to the root problem, and that became very, very evident.
the process of us working together, and you said very much straight away you realized this was different, and those early phases were very kind of raw, and your willingness to kind of be vulnerable, I think, is such an important like aspect of this.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Tell us a little bit like about this process of working with myself, and how you feel that's maybe given you or facilitated you the ability to move towards this version of Deborah.
You helped me to realize that I didn't have to be perfect, that I could make mistakes. We're human, we make mistakes, but you also helped us to realize that you can move on from them. And because I'm a real bad overthinker, so when I would hit these problems, I would overthink everything and it would be a bit of a downward spiral. But you helped me to realize that we can work through these problems. It's normal. You have bad days. And I think I remember asking you, does Ian Bickle ever have a bad day? Do you remember us asking you
Yeah,
that?
yeah, I remember.
Because you come across as like somebody who you've got it. Do you know what I mean? You this cool Ian Bickle. And I was wanting to know if you had any vulnerabilities or if you had bad days. And it made me feel better that you did have bad days. And but you worked through your bad days and got through the other side. You taught me that I can be vulnerable and I can make mistakes, but and I can put myself in a position out of my comfort zone because that was a big thing as well. I hated being out of my comfort zone. But the more you guided me to do that, the better I became and more confident I became. And it wasn't the end of the world getting out of my comfort zone.
Yeah, and let's, those bad days are now called growth days. Um,
Yeah,
because like usually it's this Deborah who's I know and have so much like pride and respect for,
thank
because I
you.
like in many ways like the life you had before we met has now become somewhat of your superpower, because you are such a kind and compassionate lady, and without those experiences you wouldn't be the person
You're
you
right.
are. Um, and this is the problem with diets as a whole, is they aren't
They're not the
ref
answer. They're not the answer. Sorry, I got in there. They're not the answer
and reflecting back, knowing what you know now, and saying that they are not the answer. Why do you feel that is?
because they could never ever help you in the way that you can help. Because to be honest, these diets, they just make it worse. Just make it worse because you're looking for something to fix these problems, and diets aren't the answer. So you would go on forever being unfulfilled and never reaching what you want looking for diets.
Yeah, like 100%. And I think like what we what you have created, it has been so amazing. And a lot of people like might listen to these podcasts and like, when's he going to tell us what to eat? And I think
I
you
know.
you where like God, like he's got hours of podcast and he hasn't told us how to like
I
manipulate, like,
know.
when to eat, what to eat, and things like that. So I think that's a huge part of the process of us working together,
Yeah,
is like when does and how does food come into this? Because
yeah.
I'm not allocating sins and points and
No.
macros and calories and when to eat. And
Uh,
yes, we have frameworks and things like that.
mhm. But you know, I think though, Ian, it's things that we already know. We all know what we should be eating and what we shouldn't be eating. But we're asking, we're like, want people, giving people power to tell us like what we should be doing when
Yeah.
we really already know. But all we need to do is just take control of it. But we need help. to be able to do that.
Yeah,
Does that even
100%.
make any sense?
No, no, like, listen, I'm like, you've been on this planet long enough to know food, but like
Uh-huh.
it's just feeling that lost, and now we've got such confusing and conflicting information
Mhm.
because you go from one extreme to say something like keto, and then the next one to
I
intermittent
know.
fasting, and you've got your points, your sins, your calories, your nutrient timing,
It's
and then you've
confusing, isn't it? Too
yeah,
confusing.
and then you've got coupled in with the perfectionistic high achiever mentality,
Hmm.
and the people pleasing and always wanting to look good and not show a chink in your armor in any
Hmm.
respect. And I think and this is why I really love these podcasts, because like it's the ability for people to realize like you are not alone. Like these feelings are common, but you're not stuck with them. And the worst thing you can do is just allow them to ruminate and stick with you, and then start to like
Hmm.
kind of identify with them like,
Hmm.
I am broken, I can't be fixed.
Hmm.
Versus like you going, we going, actually, all you need is some tweaks here and there, with rewiring if you'd like. Um,
Empowerment as well. It's empowerment for me to make my own decisions, for me to decide what I want to eat, when I want to eat it, when I want to exercise, what I want to do, what I want to do with my life. It's all about empowerment as well. And I love that you have helped me to realize that I have got empowerment now, that I
mhm,
can have this power to make my own decisions. I'm no longer the child Deb, I'm the immense Deb now.
mhm. Choice,
Choices.
choice. And that's something maybe every diet, and this is why a lot of people, they have lost so much trust in themselves that they become reliant on being told what to do, when to do, how to do it. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, you're an adult. It's time to put our big girl pants on.
So true.
And
So true.
this is what I feel I've seen within you, and the growth that you've had, but also that we continue to get.
Mm-hmm.
Is like, you know what? I think every diet has a start and beginning, when the realization with this is like, there is no end to immense debs. There's no peak to this mountain, but we are climbing a mountain that we love, and it's going to have hard bits.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
this is why I love, beyond like fixing the relationship with food, is going, actually, now we can actually start focusing on the real stuff, the most important stuff in your
Mm-hmm.
life, which is adding more things that complement the immense Deb, and her having the choice of food, business, relationships, um,
They're
and
all big things to me as well, aren't they? Because you know us. They've all been really big things to me.
give people an idea. Now, be kind here, Deborah, of
Okay.
what it's like working with myself.
Oh, it's awful. No, I'm only joking. Sorry, Ian, I couldn't resist. He knows my humour by now. It's been immense. It's just been, oh, honestly, Ian, and I keep saying it every week. I can't thank you enough. I really can't thank you enough. And I'm going to definitely get emotional now because I am just a total different person to what I was when I first had my very first Zoom call with you. And I think you probably agree with that as well.
What makes you feel like you are such a different person?
Oh, because hell I am. Hell I am a different person. You've taken me from the self-doubt, the child Deb, the broken Deb, and you've guided us every week without fail. And your patience and your what was it I said to you about your did I say once that you were brutal? Did I say brutal sense of humour? Some of your comments, you're just so flippant honest. I love it because I like people who are I'm a very open and honest person, as you know, but I love that back as well. And
Mm.
they were just the right person for that. So you would tell us things sometimes that probably I just thought, oh, a little bit, but I loved that because you were honest and open with us, and I really appreciated that. But it helped me as well. You've helped us to grow and become the adult Deb that I wanted to be, the empowered woman, businesswoman that I wanted to be. And I'm there and I'm growing on it now as well.
Yeah. And this is something I think so important is like, asking that question is like, what was this costing you, like in terms of being at the depths of despair with it all? Like,
My
you
life
know,
was on hold. My life was miserable. I was making wrong choices because of it, because of the people pleasing, the choices that weren't good for me I was making. And it was getting worse. I mean, to the point where I was just so unhappy. And I think, like I've mentioned earlier as well, to the point of even I was crying talking about it to you from the very beginning. It took a lot of weeks before I stopped crying about the life that I'd had before I met you.
mm, it's so common for people to, you know, look back. And I heard this great little quote yesterday, and it was like there's a reason why the window in the front of your car is bigger than the rear view. The windshield is so much bigger than the rear view mirror.
Uh-huh.
And you were caught, your perspective was so stuck in the rear view mirror
It was.
versus actually what we've done in terms of the perceptions and your capabilities and the capacity. We showed you that windscreen and we're looking forward now and we're heading down that road.
I
And there
think
might be
just interrupt you there for a minute as well. It's just come to mind as well. I was still married in a separated situation. Do you remember?
yeah.
I was still married and I hadn't done anything about it. So you're right, I was stuck in that past. Not, and it wasn't even if I was frightened to move on, but just didn't see the significance in it. But you made me realize like how much my life had been on hold after this bad relationship, but I was still in it because I hadn't took those next steps. But I don't even know if I've told you this, but my divorce came through on Thursday. So you pushed me. You didn't push us, but this has even motivated us to get things rolling in my life, to get rid of all the baggage as well. So I've got
Mhm.
freedom again in that regard as well.
I always like I talk about foundations a lot. And like what I want to do with people is just give them the solid foundations, not just from like a nutritional perspective, but from like an identity perspective of
Mhm.
like I can see Deb's like taking on her world, you
Hell
know,
yes. Hell
and
yes.
your
And
divorce
it's
coming through.
exciting as
Congratulations.
well.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
Sorry, I forgot to tell you.
Congratulations on the divorce.
Thank you.
But
Onwards and
like
upwards.
just out of curiosity, when that bit of paper come through and it just confirmed, what went on in your heart? What happened when you
If
saw
I'm
them
honest,
words?
there was mixed emotions. It was like, why did I wait so long to do it? And then it was like, but look, you've done it now. Hell, let's celebrate. Let's celebrate. I
Yeah.
can move on with my life. I'm no longer stuck in the past anymore. No longer.
You were right, probably one of the easiest yeses I've ever had to working together.
Really, you've never told us that
I've
before.
never told you that. Um, you got it straight away. You knew you valued this process and you still value this
I
process, which is
do.
huge. Like you saw what this was truly about. And I think many people that come into this that don't truly like understand what it is that we're doing here. I've
Hmm.
often told people in the past is listen, if you still want to go on, if you still want to do diets, there's plenty out there.
Hmm.
This isn't anything to do with that. That's stuff that, yeah, but that stuff comes and goes very quickly. This is
Hmm.
about shifting you and your perspectives and allowing you to get what you want from your life. Um, it's been amazing over the past 6 months because I've watched you essentially grow a business, and I
I
want I,
know,
I want you to
hell.
tell the journey of growing this business because at first when we first working together, you were working for someone else. So like, tell me
Crumbs, was it
about
that
this.
far back? Wasn't I? So I was working for somebody else, but deep down, I always knew what I wanted to do. I always wanted to do this on my own because I knew I could do it, but lacked the confidence to do it. So at first, I almost got into a partnership. Do you remember a business partnership with somebody who was also in the same business as myself? But I was the driving force, but hadn't realised until one day it it dawned on us, you're doing this on your own anyway. This person is waiting for you to build this business up and coming in when this business is built. Why are you doing that? And then there was another comment of another person in the same business as myself, and he said to us one day, I don't know why you need a business partner anyway, you can do this yourself. But I needed to believe that. So you helped me to build me confidence and to realize that, yes, I can do this. This immense Deb can do this business on her own to the point where, like a bit of blood, sweat, and tears over the past 8 to 9 weeks, I've actually opened and started my own business. And that is absolutely, oh, it's, I can't even put the words what it means to us. I can't really, but I've took the plunge and I remember the day you said to me one day, and I can't even remember what it was about the business. And you said, so why aren't you? Why aren't you doing that? And you got us to question myself, and I thought, hell, what am I? Why aren't I? Why aren't I doing this? Let's go for it. And it was because of that comment that I am here now today and owning it.
Owning it.
I'm owning it.
Like there's so
Could you
much
imagine
like
me saying that 6 months ago? Could you
oh,
imagine saying things like that?
and
Never.
I think so many people they can't imagine this life. Like, that like when you're so stuck in that pattern of thoughts and that cycle, if you'd like, and that rut and so lost, it's like you can't imagine what the other side even looks like. And again, I reference it numerous times, is because this is why I love the podcast with like people like yourself and other past clients who have just lost so much of their core identity and they've forgotten who they are and
Hmm.
what they are capable of. Um,
Hmm.
and I'm just like, listen, your life is so much more about just jumping on and off the scales and eating and all
Yeah.
of that shit.
It's
I
funny because I can hardly remember what I was like now. I mean, I can remember, but all seems so long ago now that I was that person. And it's not 6 months, but that's the impact that you've had on my life that much.
and I think when we started working together, I think I just transitioned from working with people for 12 weeks to 6 months. I was just like, I want to make sure that people get like it's 6 months really, I think is long enough to certainly lay the foundations. And I want to not just help you in what I would usually do the initial 12 weeks. I was like, that's where a lot of like the legwork is done. That's where a lot of the stuff is done. But that following 12 weeks is like almost the allowing you to like be and do and
Hmm.
um still have me there in some sort of capacity.
Yeah.
Um and this is the thing is like looking ahead to the future now, and that's what we're kind of we even talking about now is like the next 6 months. This is what you've done in 6 months now. You've almost just started, really, haven't you?
Yeah, definitely.
There's a motorbike.
Definitely.
Yeah, I was just saying you.
Sorry.
No, no. Uh, Deb's new premise is on the front of a high street, which is
It's,
amazing. But loud motorbikes. But I was just saying there, like this 6 months is almost like the beginning, right?
mhm.
Tell us about the future.
Oh, the future is immense. It's immense. That's all I can say. It's I've got like I'm allowing myself to go with my ideas because, as you know, Ian, I'm a little bit different. I've got a lot of ideas, and the business that I'm in is very stale. It needs a lot of innovation, and that's what I want to go with. Being very, very like a delicate area still, but keeping that respect, dignity, but taking my ideas forward, but allowing myself to believe in my ideas and to go with my ideas. And this is me going forward. I've come up with a few new ideas, which a lot of people are quite excited about, and I'm excited to go with as well. But I'm allowing myself to do it and to take the plunge. And hell, if I fail, then I've put myself out of my comfort zone. And but I cannot see it failing because my ideas, I have 100% confidence in my ideas now.
Yeah. And I'd imagine it's very similar to an industry that I think people perceive that I'm in. Um,
Mm-hmm.
which in many ways, like if you feel like you've got the capacity to change an entire culture there, one day people will be like kind of modeling off your business. They'll be going, actually, I see success, but they'll never truly like understand the heart that's behind it.
No,
Um, and that's the
definitely
thing
not.
with what I do is like I don't like the fitness or diet culture in industry because I think ultimately it's just leading people down a very dark path. And maybe there's elements in your industry that you just think like, and this is why you go self-employed. This is why you build your own business. Is because like actually I've got this idea. I want to do it better.
Mhm.
Um, and the results speak for themselves. And you, knowing you, the self-compassion the compassion that you have for other people, and now that you're having that compassion for yourself is so important. Being a people pleaser and being there for everybody else, but not for yourself, has been the biggest transformation in
It
terms of
has.
nourishing your body, treating
Mhm.
yourself with kindness, um, not berating yourself, not speaking to yourself negatively, or at least catching those thoughts and
Yeah, definitely.
feelings.
Yeah.
Um, Believing in yourself
Hmm.
because it's hard. This entrepreneur stuff is what we're doing is we are creating a life that we're not living right now. And part of the brain, and this is why I work so much in the brain, is because like the brain is afraid of the unknown. So
Very.
help being there alongside Deborah, and not that I know sweet nothing about the funeral directing business. Like I know nothing, but I don't need to know. Deborah needs to know that stuff.
Hmm.
I can just ask what on the surface level is stupid questions, but done in the setting of like me going, well, why haven't you done that? Then Deborah can answer that question. She can jump through whatever hoops she wants to and go down rabbit holes, but like fundamentally, she has to answer to me, who doesn't need to know that degree of intricacies. Can we? Are you just getting lost in the weeds? Are you stopping yourself? Are you handicapping yourself for no reason? Versus actually, let's just do it and let's, in many ways, figure this out as we go, which is,
Yeah.
it doesn't sound particularly like, oh, but I want to know. And I was like, this is the same with food. It's the same with business. So many parallels. You want to know what's going to happen when it's going to happen. And people know that. Business coaches know that. So they're going to prey on your pain and they are going to try and give you the model. This is why I'm really careful if I work with a business coach. Stop trying to it's like another diet. They try and shoehorn like
Mm-hmm.
you into a system versus not building the system around you and what you care about, what your values are, what you want from your
Yeah,
life. Um,
totally get you. Yeah.
and I'm sure that you've met business coaches who have done a similar thing, and maybe you can see the parallels yourself.
Yeah. And I've learned to trust my intuition again as well, which is great. So I can trust me judgment now for myself and go with an idea without the fear anymore and doubt. I trust my intuition again.
Yeah. I mean, we've had some really beautiful words. Trust is another good one.
Yeah, definitely.
And
Yeah.
it's Deborah, I'm just wary of time. I love the I said it, I'll say it again. I love these because like I always imagine and I say to people like I want you to listen back to your own story just as like going, oh my God, like I've come so far. Um
And I wish
it
I could like put it in a way that I wish I could put it in a way just how much that it has. I can't like emphasize enough. Do you know, you just don't feel like you could ever put it into words how much this has changed me as a person, how much I've grown, and how much I've improved my life. It's just I kind of put it into words enough.
I think that's a beautiful thing to really kind of to end on, Deborah. I mean, has there been anything that I haven't touched on or that you'd like to say or anything that we've missed?
Nothing. I would just recommend it to anybody who's got the struggles with food or just struggling that little bit and looking for help. And instead of going for the diets, to just have a chat with you.
Yeah. And listen, like we said earlier, it doesn't go any further. I get into probably what is a very intimate relationship with my clients. So there needs to be this base level of um yeah, like there needs to be that relationship there. We need to be
Definitely.
compatible if you'd like. And
Mm-hmm.
um this is why hopefully whenever you are listening to this podcast, the link's always there for you to do the free scorecard, to book a free 30-minute call. If it goes somewhere, okay, like it did with Deborah. If it doesn't, then okay, we both go on with our lives. I just want to help people because I know the knock-on effects that this has on the people around them. I know now the funeral director industry has just gained so much. And like, listen, like, no, you laugh, but like, I think about like, obviously, the amount of like families that you can give their loved ones this beautiful send off and that they are dignifying like with the service that you deliver. So like, I don't just see myself as helping Deborah. I see myself as helping every relationship that she touches now, whether it's
Mm-hmm.
professional, whether it's
Mm-hmm.
personal, with your daughter, with um, anyone who has the um, the amazing luck to be with you, and
Thank you so much.
all of these things is like people are lucky to have you.
Thank you.
So I just think finally, thank you. Um, I'm proud and you've done amazing and I can't wait to see more from Immense Debs.
You will. You will definitely.
I just want to say a massive thank you to Deborah and a huge well done. Honestly, it just fills me with so much pride and makes me realize why I do what I do. Now, if you are there listening and thinking to yourself, you know what, I want to do something about the situation that I'm in, just like Deborah, just like all of the other people that I've had on this podcast, then you have the capacity to do that. You are amazing and you are capable. You can reach out, you can do my free diet scorecard, and that'll just give you a bit of a benchmark of where you may be at right now. Off the back of that, you can book a free 30-minute call. Of course, you can follow me on social media. I have a website, all of that sort of stuff. Just like Deborah, you know, do a little bit of homework. And if you like what you see and hear, then feel free to reach out. Once again, thank you so much. Last thing, make sure you subscribe, make sure you share, make sure you give us a rating. That is hugely appreciated. Thank you so much and catch you next time.